Right now, right now. 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 Oh, I got a real good feeling.
We try to bring you high-quality educational and informational content every single day. Why do you think the price is having such an anemic time? The news story of the hour. Jump onto the chart. Is this the beginning of a massive financial unraveling? We gotta add a little addendum to the show map today. So we start here on the daily. Now, we've been looking at the RSI on Bitcoin's daily chart for the last several days. It always has been, but it's been increasing over the last 50 years since the Vietnam War. The government has been getting bigger. Hey guys, what's going on? Jeb here, and in today's video, we are going to be talking about the major correction that has taken place on Bitcoin over the last few days. Right now, we are hovering above a very important uptrending level of support, and if Bitcoin drops just a few $100 more, that would open the gateway towards Bitcoin going through a much larger correction. So in today's video, we are going to be analyzing that exact uptrending level of support. Is Bitcoin going to be able to hold that or not? You can see that uptrending level of support right here on the 2-hourly chart on Bitcoin. It is one that we have been hovering above for the last 2.5 months. And if Bitcoin does not manage to actually rally above this level that we're at right now, get out of this zone, if we continue to stick down here on this uptrending level of support, every day that passes, every hour that passes, increases the likelihood that Bitcoin may actually end up falling through that level of support. So we're going to be discussing that at length today. As you know, we're also going to be looking at CoinMarketCap. We're going to be taking a look at liquidations. We're going to be looking over here at Farside Investors because we've had a $708 million outflow from Bitcoin ETFs as of yesterday. That is approximately 2% of all of the value in the ETFs flowing out, about 1.3% of the value in the ETFs for Bitcoin flowing out. Huge outflows. Could this mean that we're about to see a dump below that level? That's what we're going to be discussing. We're also going to be talking about the recent rally on the S&P 500, and the main reason that we're seeing that take place is because Trump has toned down the rhetoric on the Greenland deal. We're going to be going over exactly what it seems like Trump is going to be getting out of this deal. We're going to look at the art of the deal and how exactly he goes about these deals. Why is Trump doing what he's doing with Greenland? How does it affect the U.S. stock market? How does that affect Bitcoin? We're going to be tying all that together. Then we're also going to be looking at gold a little bit later in the stream because I have a lot of charts I want to bring to your attention about the fact that gold is absolutely moonshotting, and that moonshot might not be done yet for reasons that we're going to be discussing, having to do with the PE ratios in the stock market, having to do with the historicity of gold. The way that gold has gone on rallies over the last 200 to 300 years are enormous. It is extremely interesting, and today we're going to talk about why the gold rally is eventually going to stop. But I think it might be too early. I don't think. I know for a fact it's too early to say that it's over just yet. So we're going to be discussing all of that and more in today's episode. Very excited to be here with you guys. Just go ahead and adjust this just a little bit. Whoa, where am I going? Whoa, where did I go? I'm gonna move over here a little bit. There we go. That sounds good. All right, let's read some chat and then let's dive right on into it. I forgot to do my snap this morning. What am I doing? Am I losing my edge? Am I losing my edge? I don't know. I don't think so. Hey guys, there we go. That's better. Eden Gardening Towers in chat said ranging anywhere from 70,000 to 35,000. Absolutely. That is a very real possibility for where the bottom of this market could go. Let's see. We've also got Let's Go Brandon in chat. Interesting name. There you go. Buying since 2021, still holding. There you go. Absolutely. That's the way to do it, is buy and hold. You knew this was coming and refused to listen. Yeah, at the end of the day, we absolutely have to be very careful to understand that the trend is our friend until it ends. And right now, the trend on the cryptocurrency market is bearish. And it's very tempting to just expect that Bitcoin's going to moonshot. But what we have to do is we have to go with what we actually have. And what we're looking at right now is a possible large correction on Bitcoin. So let's go ahead and dive right on into it. We're going to start out over here on CoinMarketCap. Over the last 7 days, we have had a 30% movement to the upside on the Sandbox. Now, who remembers Sandbox? Who remembers this? Who remembers this as one of the first major, metaverse picks that took place back in the 2022 hype cycle? Who bought up here at $7? It's at 15 cents. The reason that I bring this to your attention is because this is a cautionary tale of investing in very small cap altcoins. Can you trade altcoins? Yes. In fact, today we're going to look at some different altcoins. If we have time, we're going to look at some different altcoins that present an excellent opportunity to trade. But when you're doing long-term investing, it's very important to anchor your portfolio to larger, longer lasting positions. It's very important that you don't just ape all of your portfolio into one tiny altcoin, because this altcoin very well may never recover. It might not. But right now, over the last week, it's like, oh my gosh, it's amazing. It's up 33%. But you have to understand that this is what the chart looks like. I don't invest in charts like this. I might trade charts like this. You could put 0.5% of your portfolio into something like this as a moon bag. Go for it. Moon bags are great. Moon bags are fun. But just understand, when you're playing with altcoins outside of the top 20 or so, you're basically trading the modern day equivalent of penny stocks. So look for trades. As far as investment is concerned, make absolutely sure you get a very good entry. Monero is also down quite substantially over the last week, but this is to be expected. Monero has had an enormous run. If you'll remember, up here around $700, I was telling you to take profits. I was begging you to take profits on Monero because it was not going to be able to rally like that forever. It's not that Monero is a bad coin. Unlike a lot of other projects in the cryptocurrency space, Monero is actually a really great project, and I would have no problem holding Monero for the ultra long term. Every time an alt season takes place, it sets a new all-time high. It is a very strong coin. It is by far, hands down, the best, largest cap privacy coin. So big fan of Monero, but at the same time, you have to take profits or you're not actually making any money. So Monero, does it deserve to be number 12? I absolutely think that it does. Zcash has obviously had some major issues with its dev team, and all of this just goes back to saying the same thing that we've always said. You have to choose coins with good fundamentals, and when that comes to altcoins, that means you have to find altcoins with really, really strong fundamentals that do not change because the team changed. They are baked into the actual coin. That's why I love Bitcoin. That's why Bitcoin brackets the vast majority of my portfolio. It always has, because Bitcoin is a coin that is not going to be tossed to and fro based on what the development team is doing, because Bitcoin is a cryptocurrency that doesn't change very much. It's already basically what it needs to be. And when it does change, it has to be updated by majority consensus of the miners. So very happy about what Bitcoin is doing, and I'm actually very much looking forward to Bitcoin dropping. I hope that Bitcoin drops dramatically, but we're going to talk about all of that and more in today's video. So, like I said, we're going to be looking at the Greenland deal. We're going to be looking at gold a little bit later, but I want to start out by diving into some Bitcoin, because it's extremely important that we understand what's going on the Bitcoin chart, because that is ultimately where everything else is going to kind of live. So Bitcoin, over the last year and a half, has been building our classic 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 Elliott wave movement to the upside, and right now we're looking at this possible C wave to the downside. We've been analyzing that very closely because a major correction on Bitcoin could be around the corner, and the way that we would know that that is starting is if Bitcoin confidently breaks below this uptrending level of support. Right now, Bitcoin is very confidently in this rising, ascending trading channel. But the issue with an ascending trading channel is that when you entered into that ascending trading channel based on a downtrend, it actually ends up providing a price target, and that price target is very low because this actually builds something called a bear flag. And our bear flag price target right now is $63,000. I want to pause here for a second, and I want to give you a lesson that you can just put in your pocket and take with you. It's very important that you keep it with you. Do not trade the market you want. Trade the market you have. Do not invest in the market that you hope for. Invest in the market that's actually in front of you. It's so easy for that little part of our brain that is hopeful, which is a good part. I'm a permabull on Bitcoin. I loud and proud wear that moniker. I am a permabull on Bitcoin when you look at a long enough time frame. That does not mean that I'm a permabull on the short-term time frames. It doesn't. We have that little piece of us that we just want to put our own hopes and wishes and desires on the market, and what we see is a bear flag here that's pointing at $63,000, and we don't want Bitcoin to go to $63,000. So what we end up saying is Jeb's an idiot. We end up saying anybody that says Bitcoin could drop down to that level is an idiot. We end up saying, what do you know? We end up saying, that's not what that means. No, that's exactly what that means. And if you're not going to acknowledge reality, I'm here to tell you you're not going to make any money, and you should stay away from markets. Yeah, that's kind of harsh. Well, so is losing a ton of money because you don't know what you're doing. Okay, it's extremely important that we trade the market that we have, not the market that we want. And the bottom line is this. There is a bear market taking place on Bitcoin, and we can sit here and deny or we can trade the market that we have. And the market that we have, technically speaking, we've gone over this in plenty of content in the past. Technically speaking, we're looking for a bear market that's possibly at least 50% deep. That does not mean I'm a perma bear on Bitcoin. I believe that Bitcoin will be trading at well north of $1 million in just a short decade from now. I'm extremely bullish on Bitcoin in the long term, but that does not mean that Bitcoin will not go through corrective movements. And I know it's also tempting to say, oh, Bitcoin's not going to go through a major corrective movement because it's too large. Okay, what about QQQ? What about Invesco? What about Invesco NASDAQ 100? Drops 37% back here, right? What about back here in 08? QQQ, down 53%. So if you're telling me that the stock market can drop that much, you mean Bitcoin can't? The S&P 500, well, QQQ's tech. I understand. Okay, SPY, down 27% back here in 2022, okay, with the war in Ukraine. Back in 08, down 56%. These are major stock indices that track the entire global economy. You mean to tell me that Bitcoin can't drop that much? Really? No, Bitcoin could very easily drop 50% in a bear market still. Is it going to drop 80%? I don't really think so. I believe that Bitcoin is going to drop 77 to 78% like it did before, but could it drop 50% down from 126 all the way down to 62? It absolutely could. And to pretend that that is not possible is to ignore information that is necessary for your safety in this market, because I know a lot of you guys, and some of you guys are overextended, some of you guys are over-leveraged, and some of you guys are not prepared for Bitcoin going down to 60,000, and it shows, because whenever you get freaked out about Bitcoin dropping down to 60,000, here's what that tells me as an experienced investor and trader. And again, I'm not saying this to hurt your feelings, I'm saying this to hopefully encourage you that there's a better way to go about investment where you're actually going to make money. What that tells me is that you're inexperienced because you're not in a position to take advantage of bear markets. It tells me that either you're anticipating that you're going to retire in 3 years, in which case you don't have enough time horizon to really allow investments to work for you, in which case you need to retire later, you need to increase your income now, you need to cut debt, you need to lower expenses, increase income, whatever it may be. And investment is not necessarily your way out if you've only got 2 or 3 years, because you are you have an enormous risk, an enormous exposure to time-based risk, right? Or on the other hand, what that tells me is that you don't have enough cash. It tells me that you don't have a high enough income. It means that your expenses are not too low. It means that is that your expenses are, yes, not too low. Is that they're too high, right? That double negative is a little confusing. It tells me that your expenses are too high. It tells me you don't have enough margin. It tells me that you do not have the discipline that it takes to look forward to bear markets. Friends, you do not make money at all-time highs. You harvest money at all-time highs. You make money in the bear market. And so if you are not in a position to hope for a drop on Bitcoin down to 60,000, I'm here to tell you that you need to adjust that or you're not going to make any money. And that goes the same for your altcoins. If you genuinely believe in your altcoins, you should be happy that alt season hasn't happened yet, because that means you have more time to acquire the altcoins that you profess to believe in. So either you shouldn't believe in them because they're junk, and some of them are great. Some of them are going to 10x. They really will. I mean, there's nothing wrong with having a moon bag there, right? But if you genuinely believe in an asset, and you have enough time window, I mean, if you're under the age of 80, I don't want to hear it. Like, you need to just set aside, say, it's going to take me a few years to make some money investing. You know, this whole get-rich-quick thing is a great way to lose everything, including your principal. We have to have that long-term time horizon so that we can actually succeed. So, with all of that in mind, if Bitcoin does not manage to get off the floor, right? If Bitcoin, if 10 seconds are up and the tap comes, then and Bitcoin does not start a rally here, a major capitulation event is coming very soon. And it's possible that that capitulation event doesn't actually drop us down towards $60,000. It could be a fake out. It really could. Because what we saw over here in our last major correction, it was actually the 4 wave here, we saw Bitcoin dropped, and it was all well and good. And then what happened is Bitcoin set an uptrend here, and we all thought, you know, okay, Bitcoin's going to ride up like this somewhere. But what actually happened is that we had the one last shakeout. You see that. So Bitcoin had that one final shakeout, and then right here is where everybody thought that Bitcoin was going to go down to 50. And it didn't happen. And that's okay. That's fine. What you ended up seeing was on the 8-hour chart, and basically on every single time frame, you saw this massive bullish RSI divergence playing out right here. And so kind of both people that were in either extreme got screwed. I mean, the people that thought, oh, that's the bottom, we're going to moonshot from here, they panic sold. And the people that said, I'm not buying till we get to 50, they never got an entry. And so the way that we solve that problem in investment is we remove that time-based risk, and we make sure that we are consistently investing on a daily basis, a weekly basis, or a monthly basis. With crypto, because it moves so much faster, weekly works quite well. Daily can be a little bit too much to manage if you're not, if it's not something you can be consistent in. And monthly, sometimes you're going to end up having so much interval between your investments, at least in crypto, because we move on fast forward compared to the stock market. You may end up actually missing out on opportunities there. But the point I'm trying to make is this: if Bitcoin does fall through this uptrending level of support, the most likely scenario is that Bitcoin is first going to move back to 80,000, and then if we break through 80,000, that's where we would probably move farther to the downside from that point in time. And so you absolutely need to be prepared for a drop from 89,000 down to 80,000. You also need to be prepared that we could double bottom on 80,000. So just because we drop through this uptrending level of support doesn't mean that Bitcoin's going to 50. What it means is Bitcoin's most likely going to 80 to 82. And if Bitcoin does go to 80 to 82, especially if we drop very soon here, what that could end up doing is creating this absolutely beautiful bullish RSI divergence on the 8-hour chart, where you have a slight uptrend here. Let's say we drop down to like 81, and then we drop a little bit lower here. You end up setting the possibility of bullish RSI divergence from which Bitcoin could bounce, and you end up seeing the same thing take place out here on the daily chart. If Bitcoin, even if it's not on the 8-hour chart, if Bitcoin drops through this level and drops lower than 80,000, let's say it goes down to 75,000, right? But because we would not necessarily push the RSI as low as fast, because this correction may take a little bit longer, you could end up building, since the RSI dropped down to 21 here, you can end up building some very strong bullish RSI divergence out on the daily chart. And that's where the middle of the road idea of Bitcoin bottoming out around 75 at prior market all-time high is something that genuinely could happen. And so what we need to be on the lookout for right now is that the overall market bias is very much bearish right now, but we also want to take it one step at a time. We don't want to just jump into this idea that Bitcoin's about to just absolutely implode on itself and it's just going to die, and that's not true. Bitcoin's fundamentals are as strong as ever. I remember when in 2019, I'll show you what the chart looked like here, and then we'll keep it moving here. Back in 2019, I incorrectly thought that $6,000 was the bottom. And I learned a lot from this, right? I thought that the bottom was right here and Bitcoin was going to start rallying from here. That's not what happened. The market took longer than I wanted it to. I wanted Bitcoin to bottom out at 6,000. And so I didn't, as a newbie analyst, I'd only been doing this for about a year. Now I've been doing it for almost 10, right? But as a newbie analyst, I wanted Bitcoin to bottom here. So I was being influenced by my desire. And so Bitcoin ended up dropping dramatically here. And I felt like an idiot, man. But something interesting happened here. When I got down to this level, when the market dropped down to $3,000, I started having people come and write eulogies for me, more or less. Say, Jeb, I'm so sorry. I mean, you dropped out of college to start a cryptocurrency channel. I know you upload daily. You've got some investments, and I'm 18, you know, so I'm all down in the dumps. I've got this idea that I'm going to be very successful. And what ended up happening is one person, his name was, let's just say, let's say his name was John. His name was not John, but I'll just use a different name. Let's say John. John walked up to me and he goes, Jeb, I'm so sorry. I feel terrible for you. Like, my deepest condolences. Like, I really feel sorry for you. And it was this thing where he's like, I feel sorry for you for investing in Bitcoin. Obviously, it was a scam. And there was a little bit of trolling going on in there. There was a little bit of twisting the knife. It wasn't pure. I don't think. Maybe it was, but it didn't really come across that way. And I just looked at him very plainly. And this is 7 years ago. Bitcoin was at $3,000. Now it's at $89,000. Everybody's whining. We'll use that word. Whining and moaning and complaining about the price of Bitcoin. And I looked at him and I said, buddy, I'm fine. Because it's going to come back. And when it does, it's going to melt faces. Like, it's going to be incredible. I had that confidence. And let me tell you something. That does not mean that I wasn't depressed. That does not mean that I wasn't sad. Because a week earlier, I was sitting in Metro Diner like, oh my gosh, I screwed up this trade. I screwed up this call. I got it wrong. I was wrong. I thought it was going to, well, what's going on? It doesn't mean that I wasn't freaked out. I mean, I've been investing for a year. This was my ticket home. I decided I was going to drop out of school. I was going to be a doctor of astrophysics, or I was going to go into aerospace engineering. Those were my two ideas. Dropped out to do this. And then it fell apart like 8 months after I decided to do that. I'm sad, but I still had that conviction because I knew that I'd done the research. I knew what Bitcoin stood for, and I understood enough about the way economics worked to know that Bitcoin was going to be fine. I just had to be patient. And funnily enough, that very moment, if I had borrowed $100,000 and invested in Bitcoin, I would have made millions, because that level of conviction is how you actually succeed in markets. You have to understand something before other people understand it, and then with that understanding, you have to do something with it. And so that is my encouragement to you. If you are concerned about, oh gosh, yeah, Bitcoin's on top of this level of support, we could fall. The TA on that's very simple. We're at the level of support. If you go a little bit lower, cascading long liquidations, you crash up tomorrow and we could be there. So make sure you don't have like huge margin positions that are going to get liquidated if that takes place. But what you have to do is you have to be in a position where if the market goes down, if it's an asset that you believe in, that you're happy about it. You have to pursue financial peace. And the way you get financial peace is through financial sovereignty. So my question for you, and this is what the same question that I ask every time that we go into a major correction. It's the inverse of what I say every time we go into a major rally. Every time I go into a major rally, I tell you, and this is what I try and tell you, and I'm trying to get better about being really consistent in this. Are you in this for the Lambos, or are you in this for the wealth? Are you in this for Bitcoin going to $1 million, or are you going to be conservative and actually take profits? If your favorite altcoin 10x's, are you going to take profits, or are you just going to say, no, it'll go 20x? I'm saying the inverse now, because the thing that you will find when you come to this channel is I'm going to tell you what you need to hear to build wealth, not what you want to hear because you think you're going to get rich short term. I'm going to show you how to build wealth, but you got to listen and you got to do it. So I'm going to ask you a question right now, and it might hurt a little bit. You might say, Jeb, it's a little too personal. That's none of your business. You don't have to tell me the answer, but you need to look in the mirror and you need to answer it for yourself. Are you screwed if Bitcoin goes to 50K? Are you? Are you up a creek without a paddle? Are you ready to go into are you ready to go live under that bridge that you thought you were going to be driving under in your Ferrari because we thought that Bitcoin was going to go to 200K in 2025? We thought it'd go higher. Yeah. I thought it'd go to 130, went to 126. Are you in a position where if you are wrong, you're screwed? People that are investors that put themselves in a position where if they are wrong, they are screwed, fail every time. I know a lot of very successful investors. I know a lot of very successful traders. I happen to be a very successful investor and trader, and I'm going to tell you from experience and from the experience of everyone I've ever met who has ever had any level of expertise is that if you are wrong, you lose everything. You don't succeed like that. The people that win are the people that not only are okay when they're wrong, but they have a plan to make more money if they are wrong. Does that make sense? So be in a position where if Bitcoin does drop down towards $50,000 to $60,000, because it could happen, be in a position where you have cash to do just that. Last thing I'll say on that, and then we're going to move on, is I do not think that Berkshire Hathaway is sitting on $380 billion just because Warren Buffett wanted to leave a massive war chest to a successor. I think that when we look at PE ratios and when we look at the gold rally and whatnot, I do think you're going to see some corrections. I don't know when they're going to take place. I don't know if it's going to be in a year, 2 years, 5 years, 10 years, but there is going to be a major crash in stocks at some point. I'm not going to sit here and try and tell you when, but at some point in the next 10 years, is going to be a massive crash, and you're going to want to be in a position to buy that. All right, let's go ahead and read a little bit of chat, and then we're going to talk about the Trump rhetoric. We got to move along here. We have so much content to cover today. Let's see. Drian121 is in chat. Good to see you. Let's see. When Moon. I don't know. And that's fine. But you're supposed to know, Jeb. I know. No, I'm not. I don't know. Bitcoin could be at 200K by the end of this year. What I can tell you is this. In the next decade, I fully expect a 10 to 15x on Bitcoin. Fully expect. And my money's where my mouth is. I am positioned to take advantage of that, let me tell you. Do I know the exact date and time? No. I don't. And I don't need to know. Jesus doesn't know the exact date and time of when he's coming back. And he's coming back, and he's God. All he knows is that he's going to be ready when it comes. Are you going to be ready when we moonshot? You don't need to know when the moonshot takes place. When moon. This is something, I lose popularity on this because I speak the truth. Wind Moon is a funny meme. I love the Wind Moon meme. I love the Wind Lambo meme. I love it. It is so funny to me. It is the most hilarious thing in the world. Please don't stop saying it is so funny. But when we actually get down to tried and true investment advice, Wind Moon is one of the worst things that you could ever come up with, because it's not about when. It's about whether. It's not about when is the asset going to go where you want it to. It's about whether or not, if it's going to take place, if you are prepared for that or not. All right, let's move on here and talk a little bit about Trump. I'm going to try and keep this under 5 minutes. Good luck with that. We got a lot to cover. But essentially, we've been talking about this corrective movement in the S&P 500 because of this ascending wedge. We talked about how the S&P 500 could fall dramatically here, depending on what happens when there is a a major correction here. We've got a lot of tariff fears. We've got fears in the market that the Supreme Court is going to rule tariffs unconstitutional or illegal, and they should have gone through Congress and whatnot, and that could cause a massive refund that's needed. We've talked about the Greenland deal, which we're going to talk a little bit about. The fact that Bitcoin, I keep saying Bitcoin, the fact that the stock market, the S&P 500, is broken bearish here and actually might be running up to recapture is very beautiful, because this is a pattern I've seen very often in markets where originally you'll break in the direction you expect, but then you'll actually continue, and it basically ends up being a fake out. A lot of times you'll see this on the downslope also. Right, you'll see something like this. You break bullish, and then you actually fall over, and it's just a little bit of a fake out. And that might be what we're witnessing right here, is a bit of a fake out, because a lot of this correction was caused by the fears of what Trump was going to do in Greenland. And that does seem to be subsiding. I'm going to actually pull a couple of articles here from the Kobayashi letter. I have no idea how to pronounce this. I like their stuff. They have a comprehensive step-by-step playbook to navigate Trump's trade war. We're going to read through this, and you're going to see that this is exactly what's going on with Greenland. It's the same thing that went on with a lot of other tariff issues at the beginning of the administration. But here are the initial details of what looks to be getting ironed out with Greenland. Initial details on the Trump-Greenland deal have emerged. In theory, this is going to involve, quote-unquote, small pockets of land for the United States, U.S. involvement in Greenland's mineral rights. The duration of the deal has an indefinite time frame. It's designed to block Russian interference in Greenland. It will incorporate the United States Golden Dome missile defense system, and it opens the door to U.S.-backed infrastructure investment, which is incredible because there are a reported over $5 trillion worth of untapped mineral resources in Greenland. Now, of course, they are trapped below a mile of ice, so whether or not those are going to be economical to extract is yet to be determined. But what is absolutely obvious is that Greenland is a very important piece of American security architecture, and the reason for that is something that a lot of people don't understand. But I'll go ahead and explain it very briefly. When you look at a globe, right, you have the United States down here, you have China and Russia over here, and we always think, oh, to get to China or Russia, you just fly over the Pacific Ocean. But actually, if you're an ICBM, that's not the easiest way to get between America and Russia and China. The easiest way as a missile to get between the United States and Russia and China, clear on the other side of the globe, is by going straight over Greenland. This is a big part of the reason why Seward's folly of buying Alaska actually ended up working out in our favor. Now, Alaska was acquired in the 1800s, long before ICBMs, but Alaska for a very long time has been an important part of American intercontinental ballistic missile strategic infrastructure, and Greenland basically would shore up, if you're to look at, would shore up the eastern side, the eastern flank, right? We have a lot of defense in Alaska because, again, you have Russia and China right here on the other side of the North Pole. You basically go directly over the North Pole to get between the continental United States and Russia and China, but this eastern flank over here over the Atlantic side is very much unguarded. And this is a big part of the reason why Greenland is considered to be the queen on the global chessboard, because if Russia and China theoretically have influence in Greenland, then you basically end up getting the same thing as the Cuban Missile Crisis that we saw back in the 60s, which is that you have enemy missile bases much closer to the American homeland, which means that those missiles naturally have a shorter travel time, which means there is less time to intercept. So Greenland is, it does make a lot of sense. I'm not making a political statement about this here, although I will in a second. It does make a lot of sense from a geopolitical standpoint for the United States to have a vested interest in Greenland. And as far as I'm concerned, now this is where my opinion comes in, as far as I'm concerned, purchasing Greenland for $700 billion is a fantastic deal and will be a great use of American taxpayer dollars. I hate paying taxes. I would be perfectly fine with my tax dollars going to a $700 billion acquisition of Greenland. Whether or not we should militarily invade Greenland is another story. I don't necessarily think that we should, because ultimately, why would you trade all of this territory over in NATO, which can effectively do a very similar thing for Greenland? Doesn't make a lot of sense to militarily invade, but that was never going to happen in the first place. This is what I told you, and this is where the playbook comes in. When you watch what Trump does, he's running the art of the deal over and over and over and over and over again. He wrote the playbook on this, and the Kobiesi, again, I don't know how to pronounce this, but the Kobiesi letter has a great rundown of this. On Friday, Trump posts a cryptic message signaling tariffs on a specific country or sector. Markets drift lower as uncertainty rises. This began on Friday when Trump threatened tariffs on Denmark. 2. Later that same day, or shortly after, in this case on Saturday, President Trump announces a new large tariff. Basically, he walks into the room with a shotgun and says, you're going to give me the deal I want, or I'm going to blow your face off. That's more or less the way that Street Fighter Trump plays, New York Street Fighter Trump plays, is I'm going to end you if you don't play nice. And after he walks in with some swagger and strength, it's like, but I'll play it cool. I'll tone it down if you play nice with me. And that's exactly what's gone on. Rinse and repeat. I'm not going to read all of this because I basically just gave you the whole playbook, but you're welcome to read all of this. This article very, very gives a lot of detail on exactly why Trump does what he does and how he does what he does. And at the end of the day, what we're looking at right now is he's running the exact same playbook on Greenland, trying to get Greenland. He's threatening to dissolve NATO. He's threatening military action, threatening massive tariffs. It's not going to happen. But ultimately, when the single most powerful man on planet Earth makes a threat, even if you have an 80%, 90% chance he's not going to do it, just the 10% likelihood that, hell, he might actually invade Greenland, Denmark has to play nice. And so Trump is going to get something. I don't know what he's going to get, but he's going to get something. And the markets fall for it every time. Trump makes all these threats that he never actually intends on following through on. And then what ends up happening is he gets what he wants and the market rallies higher. So this was, as we talked about over the last few days, just a buying opportunity. That's all this was on stocks. It was just a buying opportunity. Whenever Trump is threatening, fill in the blank, it's simply a opportunity to buy the dip. And that's exactly what happened when the initial wave of tariffs came in. I mean, when Trump took office on his second term, he basically pulled the I'm the new sheriff in town playbook, and this was an excellent time to buy the dip. Right, because he had all these tariffs and then he backed off and they were a lot lower, right? So it's the same exact thing. It's just on a smaller scale. So is Greenland going to get invaded militarily? I highly doubt it. Is Trump going to get what he wants, though? Yes, I absolutely believe that he will. And because he's toned down the rhetoric and it seemed like a deal is approaching, that's why markets are ripping higher. And this actually could provide some buoyancy for Bitcoin here on this uptrending level of support. If Bitcoin is able to hold here, it might have something to do with the fact that Greenland is no longer under a direct and immediate threat of a massive, massive rally. All right, let's read a little bit of chat. Let's do it. Hey, before we get too far into that, though, I do want to give a big shout out to Femex. If you guys have not already signed up for Femex, you absolutely should. And the reason is because there's free money on the table. Guys, when you sign up for Femex, you are going to be able to get a $300 bonus when you deposit $2,000 and trade $200,000 of futures trading volume. And when you deposit $10,000 and trade $1 million, you're going to get $1,200. Turning $10,000 into $11,200 is a 12% return. Just like that. Almost instant. I mean, it's just so easy to farm these rewards, guys. Register, sign up for Femex, deposit $10,000, do $1 million of trading volume, get $1,200. That's a 12% return. Even if your trade that you do for the $1 million of trading volume is break even, you get your $1,200 just like that. But there's also another reason why you should sign up for Femex, and you should do it very soon. And that's because our very own course, 35A Mastery, where we're going to teach you incredible strategies about how to trade Bitcoin, cryptocurrency, futures markets, even the stock market, is now free, but the only way that you get access to that free course is by signing up for Femex and depositing and trading at least $100. So that's very simple to do. All you got to do, sign up for Femex, deposit and trade $100, and then you're going to get that course for free. I'll go ahead and show you what that looks like here. Very excited about 35A Mastery. It is one of my favorite courses that I have ever produced. This is a $600 value that you are going to be getting access to free of charge. All you have to do is sign up for Femex with the link in the description box down below. Deposit and trade at least $100, and you're going to get access to this course. It's over 3 hours long, and it's going to teach you a tried and true battle-tested strategy called the 3-5-8 trade setup. Listen, guys, this is an infinite ROI. You're going to get it for free, and it's going to help you have a skill that will help you to trade. And at the end of the day, as I've always said, the best investment you will ever make is an investment in your education. Right now, I'm giving you an education on how to do this trading strategy for free. People don't give this stuff away for free, but that's what we do around here. We give you quality content, and we make it accessible. And one of my promises, one of my guarantees to you that I've always given you with education is that if you take our courses and you actually apply them and you actually do what we teach you, you have a very high likelihood of making more money than you ever spent on the course. I can basically guarantee that when it's free, right? I mean, it's cost nothing right now, but that's only for a limited time. If you want to get into 3-5-8 Mastery, you got to sign up through this link. Links in the description box down below, and get access to Femex, deposit, and start trading. And when you do, you're going to be getting access to 3-5-8 Mastery absolutely free of charge. Let's read a little bit of chat, and then we're going to talk about gold versus silver, its impact on Bitcoin. There is an enormous rotation coming out of gold and silver into Bitcoin. When that takes place, though, is the question. A lot of people think it's going to be sooner than I think. I think it's going to take a little bit longer than most people believe. So we're going to talk about that today. Why is there so many haters in here? Strange. I know, right? Let's see. Good morning, Jeb. Good to be here. Rave Song Records. Good to see you. It is so good to see you guys. Someone said, go play your little video games, to one of the haters. Lazy people hate the truth. They want instant surefire calls. Yeah, and I'm here to tell you that's not the way it works. If you can harvest a 20, 30, 40, 50, 60% return per year, and you're actually a useful member of society, you actually do something in the economy, and you actually make money, that's where you're going to build wealth. One of the biggest poisons in the cryptocurrency space that I do not like and I do not promote, and I have been a staunch adversary of since the beginning, is this idea of 100xing your wealth in a year. That very rarely takes place, and generally what happens is that when your wealth grows significantly faster than your capacity to wisely steward it, you lose it. I want to see you build wealth 20, 30, 40, 50%, maybe double your net worth every year. In the early days, you could 10x your net worth from $1,000 to $10,000. That's very simple to do. But when you've got a 200, 300, 400,000 portfolio, you do not need, nor should you try to go and 10x that every year, because the only way that you're going to 10x that is either one, you founded a company that completely revolutionized the world, in which case you deserve that massive increase in net worth, or otherwise it probably means that you're taking way too much risk and you're setting yourself up to lose all of it. And so my goal every year is to target a 30 to 50% net worth increase. Right now, we're targeting a 100% year-over-year revenue increase, but I target a 30 to 50% net worth increase every year. If you run a 50% net worth increase out 10 years, you're looking at tens of millions of dollars just about no matter where you start. And so we have to accept the reality of the fact, and that is that investments take time. It is so common for people to blow up portfolios because they think if I don't double my trading account every single month, I'm a failure. And that is a load of bullcrap is what that is. And that's a great way to lose everything and be very unpopular at home. So please don't do that. We have to understand that the way that we build wealth is that we first build sustainability, and then we let compound interest do its job. But if you're taking so much risk, if you're gambling to the point where you're impacting the ability for compound interest to do its job, then that is where you are going to get screwed. So just please, I implore you, people that have listened to us over the years have built wealth. They've built massive wealth. I know people that have been following us that have 10, 20, 30, 50 Bitcoin because they have listened to the ideas of financial sovereignty and they've actually applied them. We live in a way that is financially sovereign. And I tell you what, even when the market is down, even when revenue is down, even when viewership is down, I sleep like a dang baby at night because we worked hard to put ourselves in not just a rich position, but more importantly, a wealthy position. Riches are measured in dollars. Wealth is measured in how long you can go without needing an income. Riches are measured in Lambos and yachts and vacations that, by the way, don't actually provide fulfillment, because what you're looking for is Jesus, but you're trying to fill that Jesus-shaped hole in your heart with sex or with drugs or with Lambos. Guys, I've been around all of that stuff. None of it provides the fulfillment that you're looking for. The fulfillment that you're looking for is in Jesus Christ, and Jesus Christ alone. And I will always, my promise to you has always been that I will tell you the truth, whether you like it or not, but I'll try and say it in a way that you like it. Fair? Okay, cool. I'll try and be as respectful of you as I can, but I'm going to tell you the truth, because if you didn't want to hear the truth, then why'd you even come? That's the way it is. Should have listened to you more before, Jeb. Never invest more than you can lose, especially your entire stockpile. I made a mistake at one point. I made a mistake at one point. I had a couple $100,000 in our savings account, which was a little bit more than I needed. I could have deployed some of it, but I just invested all of it, all the way down to $3,000. I had $3,000 left in the emergency fund. Worst investment decision I ever made, because the investments that I bought, I ended up having to sell at a loss. It was a huge mistake. A huge mistake. Follow the FinSov way. The financial sovereignty way is true, whether you like it or not. It just is. It just is. Pay off your high interest debt. Work on paying off your mortgage. It's not a bad thing to have a house that's paid off. A house is not a financial asset that is going to make you money, but it is a real asset that's going to give you peace. And that does carry a monetary value. You just can't put a number on it. Invest the margin, right? Keep your expenses as low as you can. Keep your income as high as you can. Invest the difference. Be generous with the difference. And that financial sovereignty is what is going to bring you peace. I am not the channel for you if what you're trying to do is 10x your net worth next year, unless your net worth is like $10,000 or less. Can you go from $10,000 net worth to $100,000 net worth in a year? Yeah. You go make $150K a year, invest half your income. Yes, you will 10x your net worth. But my goal for you is, after you get to 100K net worth or so, my goal for you is to hit 20, 30, 40, 50% net worth increase per year, because much more than that, and what you're most likely doing is gambling. Wealth gained by vanity will soon be diminished, but he that gathereth by labor shall increase, is what the Holy Bible says. And it's the truth. I've been doing this longer than a lot of you guys. It's the truth. It just is. All right. Now, I want to talk a little bit about gold and silver. I've gone over time here on my rambling, but it is important. So let's make this quick. This is a chart. Wow, Jeb, it's a chart. How about that? This is a chart tracking gold's value against stock's value. And you can see that when gold goes in a massive rally here, you can see that stocks oftentimes go through a season of correction. And you can see that this is where we are right now. Don't have a lot of time to get into this, but this is a ratio that is very, very important. It's from capriole.com. You can see that right over here. This is the gold stock ratio. And you can see that the gold stock ratio is very low. In other words, what that means is that stocks have gone on this enormous bull run over the last, 15, 16, 17 years. Gold has not really. And so gold has a very real shot of rallying a lot. This is where I've been saying for a great long time that there's a real possibility that gold could end up rallying well up, all the way up to and possibly even past $10,000 an ounce by the end of the decade. It is far too early to call the top on gold. It really is. It's far, far, far too early to call the top on gold. Is it going to happen? Yes, it's going to happen at some point, but I don't know when, and I'm not going to sit here and try and tell you when, because the strength of this rally is enormous, right? So gold will probably hit some resistance at 5,000. I'm not going to tell you where the top is. I don't know. We had this blow off top. Gold dropped from 4,400 back down to 4,000. This was a 12% drop, and gold ate it and kept going. People are tired of fiat currencies, not just in the cryptocurrency space, but the world over. But what I can tell you is this: when gold eventually stops mooning and falls over, the rotation into Bitcoin is going to be enormous. When gold no longer seems to be a strong risk to reward ratio play, which, hell, we might get to $7,000, $8,000 before that happens. I have no idea. I told someone at our church a few months ago, I said, I think gold's going to $10,000 by the end of the decade. And they said, if that happens, we're cooked. I said, yeah, but we are. So it probably will happen, won't it? Yeah. And they're like, yeah, maybe. This rally is not necessarily over until it's over. I mean, we just, again, we have to go back to our principles. We constantly have this primal urge to try and call the top on things, and it's not smart. But what I can tell you is that if you're an early investor in gold, it's a good idea to be taking some profits. Because gold goes on a bull market every like 15 years. Brother, you might be dead in 15 years. Take your profits and take your girl somewhere. Seriously. I mean, take some damn profits. Bitcoin very easily will probably go to 200, 300K, right? But gold's already up here. So if you have profits, take some. Take some profits. We're approaching 5,000. It's a great place to take some profits and possibly even rotate that into other investments. But what I will say is that it is too early to call the top on gold. We don't know when it's going to happen. It would be foolish to try and call the top on gold. All we can do is to continue to, chart out what we're looking at here. And this is the parabola that gold's been following since 2015. Gold could trade sideways for 3 years, still be on top of that parabola. See what I mean? Or it could drop back down to 3,600 and still be on top of that parabola if it dropped back down to 3,600 at the end of the year. So calling the top on gold, it's not the play you want to do. Like, don't short gold until there's a very obvious trend reversal. But what I can tell you is that at some point, it will eventually stop. And when it does, the rotation is going to be enormous, because in the time periods in history that gold has been, that gold has not been just running like crazy, a lot of other assets like Bitcoin, like stocks, have done extremely well. So your job as an investor is to position yourself in assets that are not running while other assets are running, knowing that the assets that are running are eventually going to give up the gains into a new asset that is a much stronger risk-reward ratio, which is why Bitcoin's so attractive right now to me as an investor who knows what he's doing, but not attractive to most people who don't know what they're doing, because most people are buying gold right now. And what they're doing is they might get a 20, 30, 40% return, but they're risking 200%. Bad risk-reward ratio. Not buying gold right now. Could it go to 10,000? Absolutely it could. Could it go to 15,000? Yes, it could. But it's also in a parabolic growth curve. It's probably going to fall over at some point, right? Same thing is true for silver. But I do also want to mention this. Nobelist Robert Shiller's cyclical adjusted PE ratio, the CAPE, signals equities valuations are near their highest level since 1880. The U.S. stock market is overvalued and overhyped. This is the Shiller CAPE, the cyclically adjusted PE ratio. This is for the whole stock market. Now, this is not every single stock in the index, obviously. Something like NVIDIA, I think their PE ratio is around like 25 or so. But PE ratios tend to be pretty high. Now, PE ratio is price to earnings ratio, right? The price of the stock to the earnings ratio. And generally speaking, when you see this reaching into high levels, it means that the company is overvalued. We are not in rip your face off. We're about to have a massive crash territory right now in stocks, but at some point in the next 5 years, there's going to be a major crash on stocks. Oh my gosh, Jeb, at some point in the next 5 years, you're such a caller. I'm not trying to call the future. I'm just trying to tell you what the truth is, and the truth is you're going to have an excellent buying opportunity on QQQ, on SPY at some point. Now, the other thing is that excellent buying opportunity might be higher than where we are now. So don't try and time the market. Just make sure that you always have some portion of your portfolio in cash, because at some point you're going to see a massive crash on stocks. What I'm also looking at here is that gold could just keep going higher and higher and higher, and it could start eating away at the stocks, right? So just pay attention that gold, if it goes higher, it could chip away at the stock market and at the Bitcoin market for a time until it ends its rally. What your job as an investor is to think like a farmer. Your job is to plant a bunch of crops, and at one point, one's going to be ready to harvest. At another point, another's going to be ready to harvest. At another point, another's going to be ready to harvest. But your job is not to concern yourself about when exactly it is to harvest, although that's true in the real world, right, with farming. Your job is to concern yourself with what you plant and the cost that it requires to plant and maintain. So your job is not to plant while others are harvesting. Others are harvesting right now in the gold market. Your job is to plant in good fields, good crop that will bring good returns, but you understand going into it that you're going to have to wait. So that's why it's important to have that cash buffer, that cash savings, high income, low expenses, the margin, the emergency fund, the survivability to be able to survive bear markets, is that you want to put yourself in a position where if the market does indeed crash, whether it's the stock market or the Bitcoin market or the gold market, that if you're down 20, 30, 40, 50, 60, 70, 80% from all-time highs, you start to see that as a opportunity rather than a cause for dread. And that's why it's important to build on the firm foundation. Jesus talks about building our life on the firm foundation of Him, but it is also important that we build our finances on a firm foundation of good principles. And one of those principles is being able to survive the winter, right? I mean, the farmer who makes a lot of money during the summer and then freezes to death and starves to death in the winter, did he really succeed? Or did the farmer that made less money but made it through the winter and made it through the next 40 winters and lived 40 years longer and ended up getting 10x richer anyway because he didn't die early? Who really won, right? Who really won that game? Would you rather be the person who builds a $100 million net worth at 25 because you got rich in an altcoin, but you never diversified, and then you lose everything, and then you never make it back because you never actually learned how? Or do you want to be the person that ends up making $1 billion because you adopted good principles and you gave it the time that it needs? Some things take time. Some things take time. It takes 9 months for a baby to be born. Not 5 years, not 5 weeks. It takes 9 months. Investments take time. You have to be prepared to wait 3, 5, 10 years for your investments to actually yield fruit. And if you're not ready for that, then you are what we call greedy, and you need to fix that. You've just got to do it. You've just got to do it. It's just the way it is. All right, let's read a little bit of chat, then we're going to wrap it out. We normally try and keep this 45 minutes. We went a little bit higher than that today because we had a lot to cover. If you enjoyed today's video, make sure to hit that like button, subscribe to the channel. Good weekend to stay indoors. Yes, everybody stay bundled up and safe with this storm coming through the Midwest, up through Tennessee, Kentucky, Ohio, Indiana, all that territory. Just be very careful outside. It is cold. It's going to be very cold. Very cold. Smash the likes. There are 275 viewers in here. Yes, smash the likes. I have no idea what our likes are at right now. Let's get those higher. Whatever it is, we have. It's more than 2. Come on, we have more than 2 likes. There's got to be more than 2 likes. If there's only 2 likes, then we've really got to have a conversation here, YouTube. 73 likes. Let's see if we can't get up to 100 likes. When you hit that like button, it lets the YouTube algorithm know that you enjoy the content. Hey, before we wrap it out, don't forget about the Femex deal. You can get up to $1,200 for free. I mean, you literally just spend 10 minutes, deposit 10 grand, do $1 million trade. Very simple. Do a few $250,000 trades. You get your $1 million of trading volume. And then you get the $1,200. It's free money. I mean, seriously, they're giving out free money. They're giving out a free 12% return. Why wouldn't you take this? Deposit your 10 grand. Go do 5 trades that are $200,000 each. 20x leverage. 5 20x leverage trades on 10K. You can enter, exit. You don't even have to be in it for that long. Just get the trading volume, and then you get $1,200 for free. It's really that simple. And also, when you do that, you're going to be getting 358 Mastery free of charge. Sorry, that's the sales page. Let's pull up the. There we go. You're going to be getting 358 Mastery free of charge, where I'm going to teach you an incredible trading strategy. All right, guys, like I said, got to wrap it out. Got to go shoot today's video. Hope you enjoyed today's content. Make sure to stay tuned for more content. Follow us on X at CryptoJeb. And before I go, I do just first want to thank each and every single last one of you for watching, as always. And I will see you guys in the next video. Peace.
Oh, I got a real good feeling.